Welcome to Market Masters. What would they say? Episode 1, recorded on August 5th. Today we apply the wisdom of 5 legendary market theorists to 3 major Canadian financial stocks: RY, Royal Bank of Canada; TD, Toronto Dominion Bank; BNS, Bank of Nova Scotia. Our panel features W.D. Gann, master of geometric time and price forecasting; R.N. Elliott, father of wave theory; Jesse Livermore, the iconic trend trader; Welles Wilder, inventor of the RSI and ADX; Louise McWhirter, financial astrologer who tracked cosmic market patterns. Let's kick things off with today's featured legend, Jesse Livermore. Born in 1877, Jesse Livermore is often called the greatest stock trader of all time. He made and lost multiple fortunes, most famously shorting the 1929 crash. Livermore believed that success came not from predicting, but from reacting. He taught that price and volume were all that mattered, and to quote, "It was never my thinking that made the big money. It was always my sitting." His playbook was simple but powerful. Wait for the market to confirm your thesis. Buy breakouts with strong volume. Cut losers early. Pyramid into winners. Never average down. His legacy still shapes trend-following systems today. Let's begin with RY, Canada's largest bank by market cap. The stock has recently seen sideways consolidation near a key resistance level of $125. Gann would look at both price and time. If RY is approaching a Gann angle, such as 1 by 1 from a previous swing low or completing a 90-day time cycle, he'd expect a reversal or breakout. Gann would note whether this move aligned with natural square roots or harmonics from the March or October turning points. He might say, "This square of 9 angle aligns with time resistance, prepare for change." Elliott might argue RY is in wave 4 of a larger impulsive structure given the choppy sideways behavior. He'd look at retracement levels. If price pulled back 38.2% from wave 3 and found support, wave 5 could be brewing. Elliott would note RSI divergence and falling volume as signs of consolidation before the next push. Livermore would examine the trading range between $120 and $125. If RY breaks $125 with conviction and volume, he'd call it a valid breakout. The line of least resistance is up. But if price fails to hold above $125, he'd stay flat, cautioning that a failed breakout often leads to sharp corrections. Wilder would be watching the RSI closely. If RSI is above 70 and ADX is rising, he'd confirm a strong bullish trend. But currently, if RSI hovers near 60 and ADX is under 20, he might say, "No trend yet, this is a wait-and-see zone." McWhirter might say RY is entering a business contraction phase astrologically. If a key planetary aspect involving Saturn or Mercury is due, she'd suggest caution. However, if Venus aligns with Jupiter, symbols of wealth and banking expansion, she'd expect a bullish breakout within the next lunar cycle.
Enjoying this? Visit www.samson.ca to dive deeper, explore Gann, Elliott, and Livermore's teachings, and check out our Amazon KDP book, Mastering W.D. Gann's Angles, Predicting Market Prices with Timeless Techniques. Visit www.samson.ca. That's samxon.ca.
Now we look at TD, which recently pulled back to 79 after a local high around $83. It's testing support on lower volume. Gann would measure from the last major low. If TD is retracing toward a 45-degree Gann angle or hitting a 50% price retracement in harmony with a 90-day time count, he'd predict either a bounce or breakdown. If both price and time align, he'd say, "This square confirms a reversal window. Watch for direction change." Elliott might view this as a wave C low of an ABC correction. If wave A and C are similar in length and volume is drying up, we may be setting up for a new impulse. Elliott would say, "Completion of a textbook correction paves the way for a wave 1 advance." Livermore would ask, "Is TD proving itself?" If volume surges above $81 resistance, he'd pyramid in. But if price hovers indecisively, he'd sit out. He'd likely note, "Don't chase until the market reveals its intent." Wilder would want RSI to rebound from below 40 when ADX crossing above 20. If both happen, he'd suggest trend strength is emerging. Otherwise, he'd classify this as a neutral setup with no signal. McWhirter could interpret current planetary motion, say a Saturn trine to the moon, as a stabilizing influence. If Mercury is direct, she may forecast an uptick in investor sentiment, projecting upward movement in financials over the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you love the idea of applying historical strategies to today's markets, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and visit us at www.samson.ca. That's spelled SAMXON.ca. And if you would like to support the show and motivate us, drop us a GIF at www.throne.com/Samson. Lastly, we turn to BNS, currently trading at $64, just off support from its recent swing low of $61. GAN would highlight the 50% retracement level from the last swing high around $68. If BNS is 180 days from a previous bottom and trading on a GAN fan line, he'd anticipate a turn. He'd likely say, price is completing a square out with time. This could be a reversal. Elliott might consider the possibility of an extended wave B, a complex correction that hasn't quite finished. If we get one more flush towards $60, it could mark the end of wave C. If a clean 5-wave pattern forms off $61, then he'd say, impulsive structure confirmed, the bottom is likely in. Livermore would pay close attention to accumulation signs. If BNS is forming higher lows with volume rising, he'd view it as a base. A breakout above $65 with strong volume would trigger his interest. Follow strength. Avoid softness, he'd say. Wilder would note whether RSI is climbing from oversold levels, say 35 up to 50, and whether ADX is starting to rise. If both indicators align, he'd consider this a trend entry point. Otherwise, he'd call it early, but worth watching. McWhirter could observe planetary pressure easing from bearish alignment. If Venus or Jupiter are forming beneficial aspects, she might forecast growth in banking optimism within the next month. Aligning with seasonal patterns of mid-Q3 rallies, that wraps up episode 1 of Market Masters, What Would They Say? Today we explored RY, TD, and BNS through the eyes of 5 legendary thinkers, GAN, Elliott, Livermore, Wilder, and McWhirter. Each gave a different lens, technical, cyclical, psychological, or even cosmic, showing that the market's truth often lies at the intersection of disciplines. Subscribe and join us at www.samson.ca for more timeless insight. Until next time, ask yourself, what would they say?